Welcome back, guys, to another live stream. My name's Mike, aka Decimal Punked, and welcome back. Why did I just say that the second time? This is a bit of a different stream. All the previous ones we've been heavily working in the Unreal Engine 5.5.4, but I wanted to take not a break, but I wanted to basically get the HUD operational. So in the game at the moment, we have a stamina bar and we have a looting mechanic. But I just wanted to get the HUD done because I want to implement the health, work on the logic for the robot attacking and dealing damage to the player. So at the moment, this is what we have. If I just turn off the extras, we've got this very simple sci-fi looking HUD, and basically with the stamina bar, the idea with this one is as you drain your stamina, you have the empty bar in the background. I thought that was quite nice. And then with the health cells, now, I was going to do health on an integer, so they're basically there's 20 cells there on the health, and the idea is when a player gets hit by a robot, it deals 2 cell damage, and then I think it was over 15 seconds. Let me just have a look. Yeah, every 15 seconds, 1 health is regenerated, and then if I show you. If we just hide that, you can see, if I just actually hide the guidelines, you can see as we lose health, it just looks really nice and I'm quite happy with this. I was playing around with different styles last night, and it's basically just keeping it simple, not overdoing it. So I'm happy with how it's looking. What I'm thinking is there's 2 things we need to do to this. So on the bottom left hand side, so over here, not that big, but we're going to have the codex. And what the codex is, that is going to be the visual tracking, so the player knows which creatures they have rescued. And then over here, we're going to have a proximity radar. And what that is when the player is escorting a creature, if they exceed a certain distance from the creature will lose aggro. So this is an indicator, more as a warning, that if the player moves too fast, they're going to lose the creature. So 2 elements. I was initially going to have them like to the left and to the right on here, but I just felt it's just going to look it's too small, because I like how that HUD is there at the moment. It's dead center. The player will be able to see that clearly whilst they're playing. But with the size of that, like if we go full size, like if I had it just here, it's just going to be too small for a nice little icon. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just do it over this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the work on. If we do the codex first, and then we can do the radar afterwards. So with the codex, this is going to be 4 portraits. So I've got an idea of how I want to do this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a new folder and call this codecs. And then if we take the rectangle and then just move that into the codecs. What is the position on that? I want everything to be consistent, because if anything is off, you just notice these things with your eyes. So that's the height. So what we can actually do, guys, is we can click on here and we can actually just move it across. And that one was yeah, 9 on 8.5. Welcome to the stream, guys. Okay, so how's that feeling? I think if we bring this down, there. So that is basically the same size as these elements. It's the exact same height. And I think that's going to be nice and clear. So if we were to add a little section above, as in like a tab style thing to it, and then we can have that same codex, because I don't really, I mean, I could do it, so I could make it match this actually, so it's consistent style. I could just copy these elements here and put it across there. I was going to have a tab, but I haven't done a tab for these because I wanted to keep the UI kind of not too cluttery, so it's only showing what's relevant: health, stamina, codex, and a proximity radar. Adding like, and also because I've got these stacked, having like a tab, it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't look right. So yeah, what we could do is just keep that kind of consistent. How many grids have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's perfect actually. Look at that. We've got 4 square, 4 square, 4 square, 4 squares. So we could actually have, within each 4 squares, we can have a portrait of the creature. That works quite nice actually. So let's do that then. Let's let's copy these components. So we're going to duplicate and move them into the codex, close the health, and then Hold on, why is that not... Why is that not moving? Why is that not moving the health? What's going on there? How strange. So even though I had all three selected and I was adjusting the transform, it wasn't moving the health. That is very strange. We'll just wait for this to come across. We'll just get it over there, then we'll centralise it. We'll align it centrally to the box. We'll name it Codex. And then I've got an idea for how I want to section off the 4 parts of that element. We're almost there, guys. I could have a sip of my coffee while we wait. So I do have the entire Adobe suite, and I I looked this up, and Illustrator would have been a good choice for designing UI, but I don't have the time to learn another piece of software at the moment given the deadlines I have. So I opted to do this in Photoshop. I've got quite a lot of hours in Photoshop, so I'm not an expert, but I can make what I need in here. It's something I'm familiar with. So I thought I'd just stick with this. What's the distance between that? So the line is in line with the bottom of that. I'll just check over here. Yeah. And then this one, interestingly, this one has a 2 gap height between the top bar. But for some reason, there's a 1 pixel even though I literally made sure 2 pixel gap. Ah, I wonder. Doesn't matter. It's 2 pixel gap, and then there's a 2 pixel gap there, and also pretty much there. So 2 pixel to the outer highlight. I think the other one was actually fine as it was. Okay. So the codex is... We could also create the portraits that we need as well. We may as well do that from within Blender. So we've got the codex. So... Now what I wanted to do, I wonder if I select that, is there a way? Oh, perfect. That's just what I wanted. Okay. Right, so we can see on the codex we've got a pretty much a 4x4 here, 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 and here. Two, two, two. Okay, so what we're going to do, if I duplicate that, and then bring it down. Come on. Dude, what is going on? Okay, so I'm going to move this so it's pretty much in line with that. Now I know 2, 2, 2, 2. Right, so what I'm going to do with this, oh, there's no stroke. Damn. Okay, what I'll do is I'll copy that. If we do no fill but the stroke, if we do that, so that's currently taking up, what is that? 2 pixel wide. Alright, so just play around with this here. I am sure there was a slightly different option for that. So we have the option for just a single line. Or What I'll do is I'll just duplicate that and hide it. Oh my god. There we go. Dude, why is it selecting? Oh man. Why is it selecting the whole sodding thing? Photoshop, don't be a bastard. Okay, so we could probably go a little bit bigger. Ideally, what we want to do is know how many pixels across from here to here is, and then we can figure out how much space, how big the frame needs to be, and then with the padding between the frames, just so it's like completely symmetrical and just equally spaced apart. I'm pretty sure there is a ruler tool. What's this do? Frame tool, crop. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm being a right numpty. Right, we know that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that line is right. Okay. So it's 200. 207. Let me make a note of this. So it's 272 pixels frame. And we've got three pixels either end, minus 6 pixels for bound. I'll call it boundary. Equals 266. Yeah. Okay, so 266. So is that divisible by 4? No, it's not. 266, right, hold on. 266. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, hold on. 2. 6, 6. 6, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 6, 6, 30. Perfect. Okay, so 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 padding. So you have 6 one and 6 the other, and then for the other 2 frames in between you'd have, let me just visualize this. Right, so basically you have 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sixes. The 6 being the padding between. And then that's divisible by 4, the remaining, which means we can have the frame at 59 by 59. Going by my calculations. So if we go to our frame and do this as 59 by 59, we can delete the other ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then, oh, that's annoying. Okay, on that basis then I'm going to go hold on. If I did 5 boundary 2, 6, hold on guys, sorry. 5 times 5, 25. Damn it. Oh, that's going to bug me. That line, there's literally one cell, 1 pixel at the top, 2 at the bottom. I'm going to shrink it down to 58. Still keep the, oh. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can come down 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got, and then we've got two pixel difference either side. And then see if we can fine tune. So you see here, this bottom right corner. Well, that one. Let's just play around here with the options. I am sure there used to be more strokes than that. Right, I like the look of that. Okay, so now we can bring the guide back, duplicate that, and just move it across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be 6 on the fudge. How did I get my maths wrong? Okay, on that basis then. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 pixel there. 1, 2, 3, 4 pixel there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to shrink them down. Just because I'm not happy with how it's too close to the edge and the line. So if I shrink that by 4 pixels, so if I bring it down to 55 by 55, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do the same for the others. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I made that 55. I do apologise. That's much better. That's nice, just having a bit of space between the wording and the border so it's a bit more clearer. So there's a 10 pixel gap between those. And then that's going to be 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 gap there. 4 gap there. Oh, I'm happy with that. Okay. Okay. I think that looks quite nice, simple. It's not too over the top. It's just simple UI. It's got a clear purpose. There's 4 slots there. You rescue a creature. The thumbnail will show in there. What I'll do... Blender. Let's open Blender. So, if that is a 55 by 55 frame, we want to aim for a 50 by 50 pixel image of a creature. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create the what we're going to call these. Call this frame. Now I was thinking of doing something, so instead of it just looking like bleh, I was thinking of having like a tiny slither of blue coming off here and down. I'm not sure. It's the proximity radar thing I'm slightly nervous about. Not majorly nervous, but it's basically just a circular thing. Yeah, we'll play around with it and see how it goes. Alright, let's launch Blender. We're going to open up our models. Why am I seeing the barrels? We're gonna have to go for that kind of angle. I was thinking of doing like a straight on mugshot, but I feel like something like that would be better. So Control Alt. Why is that not? What's that little white bit on here? Okay, so we're going to need to make the render. It needs to be 50 by 50. Render region. Right, we need transparency. Just need to remember. Oh my god. Did he? Okay. Squish gelatino, that's not what we want. Tell you what, let's just There we go. That doesn't look too bad, does it? A little icon of Gelatino. I think that looks nice. Fits nicely within the frame. I know he's in the A pose, guys. I know he's in the... sorry, no, it's not the A pose, T pose. But I'm fine with that. Right, so that's Gelatino's portrait. So now we're gonna turn off this one. Okay. Um, big boy. I think that looks pretty decent. Last one, Backcoon. Let's go. Okay. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks decent. simple little UI monster tracker. You see the tiny icons there. You can see the creature. Right. So we're gonna duplicate this and call it S for silhouette. And what we're gonna do, we're basically just gonna make it go full black. There we go. How's that, guys? So basically, when you've collected a creature, so it's basically showing you when you start the game, you can see, right, it's quite clear looking at that. Codex, creatures, I can see the silhouettes of 4, and then when you collect them, they will turn into the coloured version. So the player knows which are remaining, how many creatures are remaining, which ones they've caught. So I would say I'm happy with that codex. Right, the next one. Oh god. Right, this next one's going to be tricky. Because it's basically a proximity radar. So it needs to be circular. Christ, I don't even know where to start with this one. Now, I think I know how to do it in engine, because with the looting mechanic, I've got that expanding circle. That expanding circle is basically the expanding circle for the looting mechanic. I was going to do the same on that, based on the distance from the player to the creature. So if I say if the distance from the player to the creature is greater than, I don't know, 400 units maybe, or maybe 500, it would lose distance. And then what we would do, we'd do that calculation, we get the distance, get the length from player to creature, and then you would divide that down so that it would be on like a value maybe like 100. So the way it operates based on the size of that, oh my god, the distance, the greater the distance between the player and the creature, the larger the circle would be. So I'm just trying to think how to. I was going to have it over here. Let me just read my documentation quickly. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, on my documentation, I've written an indicator becomes visible on the HUD whilst the player's escorting. And saying about bars and indicator being higher or lower. But I much prefer the idea of something circular over here. That would be the proximity. I'm pretty confident I can do this in engine based on what I've already kind of programmed. So right, let's do a new folder and we'll call this proximity proximity radar. Why is it being a shitbag and not letting me just... I've selected that. Okie dokie. Right. I'm excited for this, but I'm also nervous. So what we want to do with this is basically make it a nice square shape. So basically this space in here needs to be expanded upwards with a nice square shape, so we can dump a circle inside there. I know it's going to be larger than these, but it is a radar, and radars do tend to be circular, so let's see what we can do. Right, we know that there's got to be a 2 pixel gap from the text to the top, so oh my god, that's so big. Okay, so the whole thing with this proximity radar is essentially when the player is escorting a creature, the creature follows behind the player. So whilst the player is navigating the level, their eyes are going to be forward, looking out for the robots. They're not going to necessarily want to keep turning around, checking the creatures there. So this proximity radar, it will basically be the warning for the player, like, hold up. You know, like they can move forward whilst having that radar there. Without having to look back. So that is the visual feedback of how far behind the creature's lagging. So this is a 270 by 270 square. So now that we've got that, we can fit in a circle. And I think I know how I want to do this. It's going to be a little bit... Basically, when it comes to putting this, implementing this UI, the thing I'm about to do now is just going to be like a crosshair style thing on top of that square. So what we'll do is, in Unreal's widget interface, we would have the circle, and then on top of that we'll place the overlay. So this proximity radar is only gonna, I mean, we could have it visible at all times. I just feel it needs to be nice and clear for the player. Right. Circle. So if we've got 270 by 270, if I went 250, no fill. Copy the hex. Go to the stroke. Why is it grabbing the background? Right, so that is dead center to there. So we can actually reduce this size to 240, 240. Might go 230, 230. Right, so if we have red for outer ring, amber next, yellow, and then green. Perfect. I'm just checking the pixels. It's equally spaced. Perfect. Okay, so essentially this outer ring is going to be red. The next one will be amber. So red, amber, yellow. So the amber would be like an orangey colour. Then you got yellow. So red, amber, yellow, and then green for the centre. So we do one more circle. So we've got outer. Oh, actually, I'll call this PR, proximity radar, red. Proximity radar, amber. Proximity. Oh, for fudge cake's sake. Amber, yellow. And then we're going to call this green. Okay. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to just put in the lines. So if we were to take if we were to take frame 4, duplicate it. Oh, one sec, guys, got a delivery. Thanks a lot. Cheers, mate. Okie dokie. Okay. Oh, I like 0.5. Um, should also be able to do. Oh, that looks pucker. Oh, that looks pucker. Nice. Okay, so then it would be a matter of getting the circle. Hmm. Okay. Um. Okay, cool. We're almost done with this HUD, guys. Right, what we're going to do... what I should actually be able to do... we already have the circle shape here. So what I should be able to do is duplicate that. And then... move that there. Clear the layer style. And instead of a stroke, there we go. I really like that for the red, actually. The other one was just too red. Da, 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 da. Okay, I've got an idea for this radar. So basically, it's quite large, and I don't want it obstructing the player's view whilst they're not escorting a creature. So I think a clever way of how we could potentially do this is if we anchor that to this point where it is at the moment, bottom right, get it in position. But then what we can do is we can actually have it set so if escorting is false, no, if escorting is true, it's that size, and then if escorting is false, we basically move it negative on the Y. So essentially all you would see is the little tab saying proximity radar. So then when you're escorting it, it will switch it between visible and not visible, but it doesn't completely hide the element. You still see, oh okay, there's a proximity radar, and then when it kind of comes into play, we could actually animate that to move into position. I think that'll look really nice, really nice. So I'm very happy with that red. Red and blue is a very typical clashy combination of colours, and it could be quite lurid and harsh on the eyes. But that red works quite well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the wireframe and just copy the green and get the right colour green. And then what we'll do is, I've already done this in a previous project, where the colour scales from one to another over a period of time. So I can handle this the same way. So we're going to do the green. We're going to dupe that, and then we're going to put it there. Hide that. Clear layer style, and then there's no stroke. So then we're just doing the fill. That looks really nice. So green, red. So basically we would get the colour to scale from that hex code to the red. And if we look at the spectrum, you can see this green is it will basically scale from this point, going through the different shades of green to yellow to amber to red, which is exactly how I already labelled the colours. on my so I'm happy with that. So I guess the next step then, we've got the hex codes there. So basically, I feel like we're ready to go really. We've got all of the, if I just save this, we've got, I would say that is, I'm happy with that for the HUD, the in-game HUD. I may rework the looting UI widget that I created. I might just come up with something that looks a little bit nicer. Potentially the circle, but I don't know. I need to design it or just slightly change it because it does look good, but I feel if I actually just have a look, yeah, so it's got a frame, it's got the background, and then it's got the fill. So maybe if that colour was similar to this, I'll need to play around with it, but yeah. So if we minimize the proximity radar, we basically have everything we need. You can see here, guys, when I'm toggling off the silhouettes, we've basically got the codex. We've got the codex, which keeps the player informed of how many creatures are remaining to be rescued and what ones they've rescued. We've got a stamina bar that's really nice, so when that drains, you've got this thin middle bar that's like an orange, dark orange colour. The health cells, I'm happy with those. And the proximity radar, I think that's going to look really good. There'll be like a screen at the beginning of the game on the main menu, like how to play kind of thing, and it will explain the HUD and what's doing what's the codex, what's the proximity radar. So it will explain that before you jump into the game, so you're not jumping in confused. So I think I'm at stage, what's that, 2 hours. So it took 2 hours to do the codex and the proximity radar. I did the health and stamina last night off stream. It's probably about an hour to an hour and a half, just playing around with other design looks. But I don't want to overdo it. I want to keep it simple and to the point and nicely presented. And I'm happy with the dark blue and that cyan lighter blue colour. I think it's a really nice combination. So I am going to call the stream there. I'm going to stop for some food, have a little break, and I will be back afterwards. So maybe in a couple hours time I'll be back, guys, and we will jump into Engine and we will implement this UI. We will get the codex working first probably, then we will look into, I think the proximity radar would be a good one to tackle, and then we do the health and stamina bit. So we know from this template it's a 1920 1080 document, so we'll be able to export every element of this HUD as we need, and we know their placement on the canvas as well, so we'll be able to match that up to Unreal, and then we'll be able to test the anchoring and that the UI scales nicely as we adjust the size of the simulation window. So if you enjoyed that stream, guys, feel free to follow on Twitch if you want to stay up to date, and if you want to see any previous streams I've done, feel free to check out my YouTube below. I've got playlists for Unreal, Unity and Blender. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and I will see you in a couple hours time for some Unreal Engine 5.5.4.